Good evening, Grenada. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Grenada. Well, today, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Earl J. Maitland back in the house, out from captivity. Earl, where have you been? What's happened? Did the Grenada Bill finally call to you?
Yeah, I'm back here. You know, it's a pleasure to be back with you and the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and of course the wider world. It's a pleasure to be back here.
So what happened? I thought the Grenada government had finally got you. They finally caught you. This one caused all these problems. You see, I think they got him all right. So we're just starting the show here, and Earl has gone frozen on us. Thank you, Earl. Appreciate that. So just waiting for Earl to get himself reconnected. So while he's getting himself reconnected, just in case, we will just... Let's wait for Earl. We're just waiting for Earl to reconnect. Yep, Earl's gone. We're just waiting for Earl to come back to us. He's got some technical difficulties. So while we wait for Earl to come back, I will do a Mr. Earl. Are you there, Earl?
Yeah, sorry about my internet problems in Grenada.
You sure it's internet problems, not the Grenada government trying to cut you off now?
It is possible. It is possible.
So what's been going on? Where have you been and what's been going on?
Well, I have returned home, and we're here. I did my quarantine and everything as recommended by the health experts around the world. And you know, this is something that must be done to ensure that the people of Grenada remain safe. So I have done my time, and I am back again in the public, meeting the people, listening to all the trials and the tribulations that they are going through under the current regime. And I am doing my best to ensure that the people of Grenada will be afforded a voice, and they, in turn, they would be better at what they intend to do, you know, at their lives and livelihoods.
Okay, so how was that quarantine for you? Talk to me about the process.
Well, quarantine, the quarantine in Grenada, you know, I must say that I was and still am a bit disappointed in the lackadaisical attitude that I have experienced. I was within the region, which means that I was able to quarantine at home. However, persons from the ministry did not do the relevant expected checkup as I would have thought, you know, and this has raised the concern that I believe that many persons who shared the similar experience like myself, who had to be home quarantined, being able to just enter the streets as normal, unmonitored, and so on. So, you know, I have done the part. The quarantine was a good time for it was a good time for reflection and so on, you know, coming up with ideas how to better the entire nation, the trial and state, how to better myself as well, as a patriot of this country and see what could be done.
Okay. So, a lot of things to talk about. One of the things that we talked about a lot was the police brutality. We talked a lot about it. It's something that's been going on a lot in Grenada. And one of the things that you were advocate for was police cameras on the actual police officers.
Mm-hmm.
And you were advocating for it a lot. Can you give us any updates about that since you've been back to Grenada?
Okay, so you know, in 2015, when Grenada witnessed yet an ex-departure of a human being who was in police custody, I decided to champion the cause that cameras should be placed not only on active duty officers, but also in police stations. In the December of that month of 2016, the following year, the ex-commissioner of police, Mr. Winston James, came to the local media and said to the people of Grenada, Cargo, and Pitimati that the Royal Grenada Police Force was going to get body cameras for the officers. Unfortunately, 4 years later, it has been a continued effort that I made, and I must commend you for your assistance, because you also assisted me with getting out the request of having us getting these cameras so persons could be held accountable. And not necessarily just the officers alone, but citizens as well. And now, an announcement just sometime last week that the Royal Grenada Police Force is going to actually get cameras, I believe, sometime next month, which is a positive. But looking at the system, yes, Ingram, you know, and I must commend you for what you're doing for Grenada across there in England. I must commend you for that. It is now 11:22 p.m. in England, and Ingram is actually making the effort and the sacrifice to ensure that the voices, the concerns of Grenadians can be raised and it can be addressed.
Listen, listen. My eyes dropped to one show. My eyes went like that. One show, right? And that was about 3.5 hours long, right? That's one show.
Yeah.
Other than that one show, my eyes ain't done that. So don't even try it. And he says, "Oh yeah, I must commend you for staying up, for being awake." But I have to say. No, but I get you. I totally understand. I totally
you know, but Ingram, you know, despite the fact that the announcement was made, the persons in authority in Grenada, they always seem to be making announcements to the public that are never fulfilled. For instance, we had the Minister of Health, Mr. Nicholas Steele, who announced in January. My favorite minister.
Yes.
That is correct. You know, he announced on January 6th, 2020, that in the middle of February 2020, 5 portable dialysis machines would be placed at the General Hospital. To date, that has not materialized. It has not happened. And we have lost 2 patients during that time. I cannot express how disappointed I am, you know. And the thing is, this has not been the first time that the Royal Grenada Police Force has made such an announcement. So I will do whatever I can to ensure that these body cameras are placed on the persons who are being paid to protect and serve. We have too many cases where persons are alleged police brutality or police misconduct, right? Based on what I have seen, the commissioner has intended only to put it on a particular section of the Royal Grenada Police Force where it should be on all officers. I believe he has said that it would be going only on the rapid response unit. This means that we would have hundreds of police officers on our streets who are not wearing body cams. So what I am hoping that we can achieve by these body cams is to hold the public servants, the police officers, and the citizens accountable as well, right? And of course, legislation would have to be passed to use this footage to bring into the courthouses, right? And one more concern I must say that I would have is the way that things continue to be done. Now, although we have achieved the body cameras, hopefully, what we do need is an independent body to investigate the rogue officers or the corruption, the alleged corruption in the Royal Grenada Police Force. Without that, it does not matter what evidence we have. It would not make it to the courthouses. When we look at the persons in the prosecution department, they are Royal Grenada police officers, Royal Grenada Police Force police officers who are prosecuting their own colleagues. And many times, based on my experience and my knowledge, this only results chaos, destruction of democracy, and injustice to the people of Grenada. It actually eliminates what the justice system is hoping to achieve, right? So we do need that independent body who will be holding on to the footage, who would be investigating the footage and so on, right? This is something that definitely we have to look at. What use would be evidence in the hands of a corrupt individual?
Further corruption, isn't it? I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here. Now, they say before law is thrown out worldwide, take a good look at New Zealand. They say that they're going to put New Zealand under martial law. And they say they're going to try and round people up in New Zealand, prepare them to mandatory take the vaccine. If that's the case, and they say, look at New Zealand, that's if New Zealand will be the model as to what will go right across the world. How do you foresee 2021 in a Grenada which could potentially become cashless, meaning that they only use their cards now, they won't be using cash, and martial law to enforce vaccines? Is that possible in Grenada? And if it did happen, what would that look like, and how much resistance would the Grenadians put up?
At this point in time, we cannot we cannot do such a thing. I don't believe we could do such a thing. The level of poverty in Grenada is extremely high, despite whatever statistics are being posted by the current administration. Poverty is at an extreme increase, right? Realistically speaking, many persons who we have in Grenada, they do not have the privilege of actually having bank cards and so on. Grenada is a very different community, is a very different country from other countries. Let us look, for instance, at how hard, almost impossible it is for someone to actually get a loan in a bank, right? Someone that is living in America illegally can at least have 3 credit cards, but not in Grenada, right? We have many persons who are living, and you know, it's bad to say, but many persons who are living hand to mouth,
yes,
salary to salary. You know, they're waiting on the next dollar, so they would not be able to do such a thing.
I've seen it so devastating that when the government decided to pay late for whatever reason, I've seen people's lives go into real crisis mode.
Yeah, and that is a normal day in Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique. It is a normal day in Grenada, and this is why we are calling on the persons who can acquire the finances, the persons who can make the little sacrifice, the persons who can afford to assist other persons. You know, you don't necessarily have to walk around and just hand out hundreds of dollars. But there are families who are in of food, shelter, and clothing. This can be provided to these persons, you know, and I cannot see that happening anytime soon. There are also there is also the elder population who does not know how to use these credit cards and so on. And this is where education empowers a person.
Okay.
And many times we have not focused on
Let me
empowering persons.
let me put the pressure on you a bit more.
Mhm.
If the Right Honourable Dr. Keith Mitchell is forced by the powers that be to fall in line with the rest of the world, the new world order, then what happens?
Then what happens? That is a good question. It would not be an easy transition. It would not be easy. We would have many more persons who would actually be suffering. I can only imagine the lines, the thousands of people who would have to be going to the banks. The banks would actually have to change their policies and so on in order for persons to get cards. Persons would actually have to have bank accounts and so on.
And
And
ID.
just to get a bank account in Grenada, Ingram, you would have to produce, furnish the bank, the institution with at least 2 or 3 ID cards. Many persons in Grenada, especially the elder population, they don't even have any other card other than the voter's ID card, which should not even be used as identification. It should only be used for voting. So we have persons who don't even have an NIS card or a driver's license or a passport. And this is the level of poverty that we are speaking about, that persons are not aware of, right? And as I said, despite whatever has been produced by the current administration, the statistics, when we actually get to the people and go through our communities, we would actually see what is happening.
Do you see that? Charlton Maitland says they will make it hard for us to get because they want us to remain in poverty.
And I do agree. I do agree. And this is exactly what it is. This is why the politicians that we have in Grenada, and I should say in the region, not only in Grenada, in the region, they only come around every election term, every 4 or 5 years. I was looking at monitoring what has been happening in St. Lucia, what has been happening in Trinidad and Tobago, who recently had elections. And the persons in the videos, when the representatives were actually going around, you would hear the cries of the people who were saying that it took you 4 years to return. What has happened to the promises that you have made? And this is a strategy to ensure that the people are not empowered enough to make the correct decisions, right? Decisions that would propel their communities, themselves, and the country on a whole.
Well, I think we need to educate our people in saying, what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me? Okay, the last year I saw 4 years, I saw you on the street corner and we were drinking some rum together. And you tell me if I voted for you, you would do this, you would do that, you would do the other. Emmeline Pierre, I'm going to bring her name up. It's a perfect example, prime example of somebody that there was many promises made, and I went to her, and when they got into power, she didn't know who I was and what I was doing and what I was there for. Do you understand? But before they were in power, they were this, they were that, they're going to this, they're going to do that, and they broke all their promises once they got into power. So when you listen to these people speak, so they speak on camera with such authority, but when you look deeper into the character of these people, you'll find they're only looking after themselves and their own best interests. And my concern is now, whether it be NNP or be NDC, it don't make no difference if for example, if the NDC are talking about NNP and they're talking about Keith Mitchell, then that's not the vision. They should be talking about the current administration. They should be talking about a new Grenada. What are you going to do when you get a boat that's going to take people from Grenada to Trinidad? Are we going to work on that? Is they're going to be very, very taking us back and forth? What's happening with the rest of Grenada?
Go
ahead.
You know, Ingram, and that's a very valid point. Persons, the voters, the electorate, need to stop voting based on party and look at the integrity of the persons that they are putting there, because it affects us all. Persons must ask the question, not what have you done lately, but what have you done without the authority, before the authority, what have you done? Let us see how patriotic you are. What sacrifices have you made for the country? How have you improved the health sector? How have you improved the roads? How have you improved justice in our country, even before getting into authority? And then persons would actually understand that we must not expect persons who are not struggling to understand our struggles, right? And that is exactly what it is. You know, the health system is terrible. We have had many politicians speaking about the health system, but they have done nothing to better the health system. This is why it is still in crisis. This is why we have many nurses and doctors who are going to greener pastures, because they also have to think about themselves and their families, right? The salaries are an embarrassment. There is only contract work that is being offered. Now, this is even illegal when we look at the Employment Act of Grenada, which we in Grenada, we refer to this as the labor code. The Employment Act of Grenada particularly, specifically says that when a person is in a particular institution that cannot operate without that person automatically becomes permanent, right? Now, that is section 29.5 of the Employment Act of Grenada. But what we do have is persons who are in authority, even in the unions, who do not utilize the laws of Grenada to better the situations of our workers, of the people of Grenada. The people of Grenada who are paying tremendous amounts of taxes, they actually need, they not only need, they deserve better healthcare treatment. They deserve an adequate amount of equipment and human resource and so on at the hospitals, right? And this is one of the problems that we're having, one of the many problems that we are having in Grenada. So we do not have to wait until we are in authority to make the change. We can get that change today. We can speak on behalf of someone who's been victimized. We can speak on behalf of the persons who are housed at the general hospital at this time. We can speak on behalf of the nurses and the doctors who are overworked and underpaid at the general hospital. We can also speak on behalf of the police officers who are being victimized in the police force. And in Grenada, we have police officers who have been hard-working police officers for 30 years. And from 20 years, 18 years, 30 years, who have not even been given a rank, right? They have entered the Royal Grenada Police Force as constables, and after 33 years and 35 years going, they are still constables. But what we see is the political mix, where we have persons who are high in the hierarchy of the Royal Grenada Police Force. They are in cahoots with the politicians, and this is how many persons are being given the rank of inspector and ASP and in charge of this and that. You know, that is a problem. So we don't have to wait until we get into power to speak on these things and make a difference.
All right. We need to be brutally honest to me. I'm thinking about this. If you were to do a pie chart today, honestly, brutally honest,
Mhm.
how many people in Grenada are happy the way Grenada is and are happy to keep the status quo the way it is at the moment? And how many people in Grenada actually want Grenada to progress and move on and for change? And make that as a pie chart. And let's say 100%, break it down for me. How many people want progression and how many people want Grenada to stay the way it is?
Now, I honestly speaking, I can honestly say that there are 15 persons, at least 15 persons who would like Grenada to stay the way it is, right? And those 15 persons would be in government.
Don't disappear on me again. Don't go on me again. Hey, you better put your dollar in the pay the man the dollar. Pay the man the dollar at the internet, Calf. This is what happens when you don't play your dollar. You see? Just waiting for Earl to reconnect. I think he's at the internet cafe. So just waiting for him to reconnect. So while I'm at it, and while we're just waiting for Earl to reconnect, let me ask your opinion while you're watching. If you're a Grenadian and you're watching the show at the moment, let me know what you think in the current state of Grenada. How many people do you think in Grenada actually want Grenada to progress? And progression, what does that look like? What are the benefits of one party attacking another party? Would it not be better for a party, whether it be the NDC or whatever a party it may be, to be able to give the people of Grenada the option or the vision to see a new Grenada, what it looks like with a better health service, a better travel, cheaper travel? What would you suggest are the things that are necessary for Grenada to improve? I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments. Also, while we're here, and I'll just do it now, let me do this for you now while I'm here. Let me see if I can get my share screen up. We'll wait for Earl to come back. Let me just get this up. I want to show you something really important. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. I see. Okay, let's get this up quickly for you whilst we wait for Earl to come back. Share screen. Okay, let's get this up for you very quickly. Okay, so what we'll see on this page here is actually our Facebook page, the New Grenada Matters Facebook page. If you watch me, if you join me on the page, you look across here, it says at the bottom here, invite friends. See where it says invite friends there? Click on that and invite your friends. So obviously if you like the page, make sure you like your page. Once you've liked it, go here and invite your friends. Click that and invite all your friends. So the more people we get on the show, the better. So please do that when you get a chance. Get across, get the invite, and it'd be great to have you on the show. Get other people watching the show. Spread the word. Earl's gone at the moment. I don't know where he's got to. Maybe it's the internet thing. So let's bring this back up. And while I'm at it, I think I'll bring something else up. Let's bring something else up while I'm here. And it was on Grenada CDC. Let's see, bring it up as well. Right. This news has come out today from Grenada. I think it's come out today. Yep. Grenada welcomes CDC low risk COVID-19 rankings. bring that up in big so you can all see that. And I'll read it out for you. So, the United States-based Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has moved all travel notices and warnings for Grenada as the Spice Isle continues to efficiently prevent, manage, and control the outbreak and spread of the coronavirus COVID-19 infection on the island. In its latest COVID international update, the US-based public health entity placed Grenada in the category No Health Travel Notice. COVID-19 risk is very low, which is fantastic. Acting Chief Medical Officer, CMO, Dr. Sean Charles, reacting to the update, said, "I'm pleased to see that the US CDC has removed the travel advisory to Grenada. We are now listed under no travel health notice. COVID-19 risk is very low," he said to GIS Sunday morning. The CMO said that this can be attributed to the continued hard work of the team, the government, and citizens who have demonstrated excellent leadership in handling the outbreak. Health Minister Honourable Nicholas Steele, who had been leading the national response since Grenada began planning its response strategy immediately after learning of the outbreak in China, said every frontline worker from the different agencies and organisations should feel proud and must be commended. However, Steele, Minister Steele, who monitors the global unfolding situation on a daily basis, cautioned that while our risk is low, we need to remain vigilant and focused. The minister urged all health providers, frontline workers, and public to continue following all the safety guidelines and protocols to ensure Grenada remains COVID-19 free. And that was from Now Grenada. And I do believe Mr. Maitland is back. Let's bring him back in the room and we shall continue. Yes, Earl, there we are.
Yes. Sorry about that. Internet problems.
Yes.
A lot of problems.
Pay your dollar and stop being so tight-fisted and we'll be okay. Pay your dollar.
No, and this is supposed to be the better internet connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is supposed to be, but
change your diet. Change your diet.
I think I might have to do that.
So, what were we talking about before we got disconnected?
So we spoke about
changing Grenada, the politics and changing Grenada, and the new vision and
right. So you what you had asked me if I was to pie put something on a pie chart.
Yes.
So I would say that I believe that there are at least 15 people in Grenada who would not want to make any changes to Grenada, right? And those 15 persons, of course, would be the 15 persons in Grenada because they are living the best lives, They do not have to face the music as it is. Even when we look at the COVID situation that we had in Grenada, or that we still have, when the country was on full lockdown, we still had the ministers and their friends and families and so on. They were able to move around Grenada freely, although many persons were limited to their place of residence and so on. We also had or have information where there were virtual shows and so on, the things that not only that excited the people of Grenada, that disappointed the people of Grenada, where laws were passed, but those laws did not apply to the persons in authority. We had a situation in Ingram where one young lady from the Grenville area who works with one of the local media stations, she hosted a birthday party at her home during COVID. And she was arrested and charged for violating the regulation. But then we had a minister who did the same, who actually had her birthday party where there was no social or physical distancing, where there were many persons who were gathered. She did not she did not adhere to the regulation, even as it relates to association or gathering in large groups and so on, even with face masks. And this minister was never arrested or charged. So there are some who would like the country to remain as it is. Now, I strongly believe that people will always be people. And I believe that the majority of Grenadians, besides at least 15 persons, would like Grenada to change because everyone wants better. Everyone does want better, but many persons believe that, sometimes they might think it is impossible, think that we could have better, especially given the lengthy dictatorship that we have experienced in Grenada. Sometimes persons actually give up the faith, they give up the hope based on their struggles, the duration of the struggle. Sometimes it takes away from the hope that we once had. So I believe that everyone wants better besides those 15 persons, but they
Okay.
do not know how to get to that point where things could be better. So what they actually do, they're afraid to go against the tide. And this is the problem that we most likely would be having. So on
Okay.
that pie chart,
Okay. So let me say, the people with that energy they had to do the jab and do what they have to do and stand in front of the camera and fight for jab. Could those same people fight for the healthcare service? Could those people fight for the improvement of Grenada? Would those people do that? I mean, to fight for jab is one thing, but to fight for the betterment of your island is another thing.
So to answer your question, could those same people fight for healthcare and the betterment of Grenada? The answer is yes, they could, because you and I do it every day, right? And we all have the same abilities, right? Would they do it? That is our next question. Would they do it? I surely hope that they would do it, because we have seen how many persons we have lost at the hospital. We have seen it. We all have lost someone at the hospital.
I'm afraid to say to you, Earl, that the way things are going, the way things are looking, they're going to have to stand up and fight, because you can't go silent. If they decide to put the country into martial law and force everyone to mandatory take the vaccine, then what happens?
Now, the thing is, there are some who would not allow such a thing to happen. The first time that I can recall the current administration was trying to introduce this vaccination thing was sometime last year. It would have been early last year, early 2019, or late 2018, where I believe the person who is in charge of the nurses or the vaccination unit made a statement in public, saying that all children would have to be vaccinated because many girls and boys, they develop breast cancer and so on. The people of Grenada stood against that.
Okay.
And the health official came back to the people of Grenada and said publicly that it was a slip of the tongue, right? Which I find highly unlikely. We also had the situation where this COVID-19 bill was going to be tabled in Parliament. It was going to be passed. We do know what happens when we have one government with a bunch of yes men and yes women. There's no objection to anything. So that bill would have been passed. But the people of Grenada had been educated enough by a minority of persons who would have been paying attention to everything that happens with the taxpayers' dollars on the taxpayers' time. They would have been educated to the Draconian Bill, as we said, and we have referred to it as a Draconian Bill because it has been harsh, it has been unwarranted. And the people understood what was happening. This was actually given the government authority to just take over even the power station and so on.
The Right Honourable Dr. Keith Mitchell would argue with you and said that he was trying to protect the people of Grenada. Protect the people of Grenada. You say that. Yes.
Now what I would say, he says one thing, but his actions prove otherwise. His actions prove otherwise. We have seen many times what happens here in Grenada with the foreign investors. We have seen the people of Grenada being refused entry to the beaches and so on. Even recently at the Las Vegas area, we have fishermen, Grenadian citizens who survive, who earn their coin by going to the beach and fish where they have been refused. Now, we even understand that Minister Oliver Joseph, the representative of St. David's, was unable, right, to solve an issue between the persons that he's being paid to represent and some foreign person who came into Grenada and refused to allow these Grenadian nationals to go to the beach, right? We have so many persons who have been disappointed by these individuals who have oversold themselves, who have pretended to be something that they are not. But all in all, we this internet is giving trouble. Ingram, was that my internet or yours?
It certainly isn't my internet.
Okay, I guess it was mine.
I paid my dollar. I paid my dollar. Yeah.
I have also paid my dollar. I have also paid the taxes. I have made the sacrifice.
I'm proud of you. We could start in the beginning.
No, I have made the payments. I mean, imagine, Ingram, we have the government. The government continues to say that they have not collected monies, that they have significantly decreased in the collections and so on. Now, when I came back from Antigua, 6 months later, my car insurance, I had to pay the full price, although I did not use the car for 6 months and I only have 6 months on that car. I had to pay the full price to get that little sticker that possibly cost 5 cents, right? I had to pay the full price, $200, based on the size of my engine. Now, there have been many Grenadians who have been stuck abroad. Canada, America, England, Trinidad, Tortola, Jamaica, you name it, Grenadians have been there. They have been stuck due to COVID. But what happens when they come back to Grenada in order to use their automobiles? They have to pay the full prices. The government doesn't say, you know what, you have not been using this vehicle. We are going to give you the percentage off. We are going to make our calculations and we are going to give you a fair price or fair treatment. But they are collecting the full prices. They are saying that taxes have not been collected. This is yet to be determined. We really do need independent bodies, Ingram, looking at these people. We really do need independent bodies. As far as I can see, taxes continue to be paid. Groceries, VAT, something that was supposed to be temporary. That VAT, I have paid $40-something in VAT at the grocery store. Now let us imagine there are 110,000 people in Grenada. Now, if we were to take 10,000 people from 110,000 people, we're just going to take 10,000 people and multiply that by 40 for VAT alone in the grocery store. that is a lot of money that is being collected. VAT was not removed, right? Just the fact, Ingram, that the Prime Minister has now spoken about removing taxes from airfares and so on, that should say a lot to the people of Grenada. Now, if the Minister of Finance, who is unfortunately also the Prime Minister of Grenada, if he is able to do such a thing, that means it could have been done a long time ago, and people would have been able to travel, to get their medicals, to see their family members, turn over in business. That's just like basic common sense. You don't need a doctorate to do that. But when we had sometimes airfare from Grenada to Trinidad at $1,800 EC for a return ticket, $1,800 to fly 35 minutes away. This is what is going to happen, right? This is why people are unable to travel. This is why Liat would have been ending up in this drama and so on, because many persons were unable to pay these fares. Now, after the almost elimination of that airline, the Caribbean airline, now we have the Prime Minister speaking about removing these ridiculous taxes. Now, some persons at certain times would pay about 400 US to do a return ticket to the USA, which is 4.5 hours as far away from here. Now, what we have to do is look at the taxes. Stop taking the talks, the lip service from the politicians, and start looking at the taxes. When we get our receipts, look at the taxes. When we go to the car parts place, look at the taxes. When we go to the grocery stores, look at the taxes. When we buy clothes, look at the taxes. And we will actually see or get a better idea of how much money the government is collecting. They have not taken out the $5.50 from the gas pumps. Gas has been selling during COVID. Everything has been selling, right? The government very well, and they have also been able to accumulate many grants and loans and gifts and so on over that period. But they continue, even though they have collected so much grants and loans and so on. The Prime Minister has about how much grants he has collected and he doesn't have to pay back. He has boasted about that. But yet still he's complaining about the finance. That makes no sense to any reasonable thinking person, right? So, as we always say, the people of Grenada need to mind their business and actually, do their own calculations. Pull out a calculator, check how much taxes you're paying. Multiply that. We have 110,000 people. Just multiply it by 10,000, and you would see how much money is being collected. The land tax, everything, the tax at the pumps, everything that you can think of, the liquor license, everything. We have to pay. We really need Ingram. We get the courthouses to post up for the public to see, for the people of Grenada to see how much money they have in fines over the last few years, right? A man is not wearing a seatbelt, Ingram.
Fine.
That's $1,000 fine. $1,000 for not wearing a seatbelt or for failing or forgetting to wear a seatbelt. You have a defective tire, $500 in court. And this costs the court nothing, right? There's no cost to the court. So we need to see where this money is going, how much money has been collected, and tell us where this money is going. The country has so much money. Ingram, if I was to walk up to you and use some obscenity or some kind of insulting language or so on, right? If I was to use that to you, I would have to pay the court. I'm not paying you. I'm going to have to pay the court, right? The court has been it has been doing very well for collections for the country. The victims don't even get the money.
So Maria Truckman says, good evening, Maria, by the way. Not all money is good money. Maybe they should discontinue the CB program if they're treating the local citizens in accessing the beaches and other areas.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do agree with Ms. Trotman. The CBI program, things are happening there too covertly in a conspicuous manner. If any citizen of Grenada was to walk into that CBI office on the coroner, as I have done, and just to try to find out how much money has been collected by the CBI department and how many persons have now gotten Grenadian passports and so on, we would be refused. We would be refused. That person would be refused. There's too much secrecy, and normally,
what other data? Where you request data?
Say that again.
Make a request for data.
Oh, they refuse. They refuse you that information, Ingram. This is Grenada. This is Grenada. You cannot even access court records and so on in Grenada. This is how Grenada is, right? This is how Grenada is. So, as Ms. Trotman said, not all money is good money. Much of the money that has been collected does not go to the betterment of Grenada. It does not go to the betterment of the citizens of Grenada. Many times we hear of the amount of projects that are happening in Grenada. There's always some kind of exorbitant cost these projects. For instance, I believe they are doing something to that school in Carriacou, Bishop's College. I believe they're doing something to a school in Sister Isle, and it's millions of dollars, millions. But you're wondering what is really happening. Are we building this school out of gold? Is it gold we're using that it would cost so much? Who's the contractor? You know, there's no proper breakdown. When I went into the Accountant General's office in the Ministry of Finance on the Carnage in 2018, trying to attempt to have the best manifesto to ensure that Grenada could be propelled, I was told that financial reports, the last financial report that was done was in 2012. And I'm speaking about 2018. So that was 6 years that financial reports were not done. And we have to wonder, where are all these people? Where is the FIU? Where is the FIU? Why is the FIU not focusing on that area? Why are they focusing on the Susu hands that the people of Grenada are a part of? The poor people of Grenada are a part of.
The agenda is to keep the poor poor and the rich rich, and keep the gap getting wider and wider and wider.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know, and one thing I must mention though, that asylum seeker,
yes,
that is still at Her Majesty's prison.
What's the update with that?
Now, the government has said, the Attorney General, Mr. Dashan Ramdani, has said that this gentleman, this asylum seeker, was imprisoned because he entered the state of Grenada illegally.
Right.
Now, according to the laws of Grenada, in Section 36, right? Section 36 of the laws, I believe it's the Immigration Act, Section 36, offenses and penalties. It clearly states that the penalty for entering the state of Grenada illegally would be 6 months and $3,000. Now that asylum seeker remains at that disgraceful, that inhumane place on that hill there in Richmond Hill at the prison, a place that is not for human beings. That asylum seeker remains there for over 365 days, although the law says that it is 6 months, a maximum of 6 months, right? He has not been resentenced. there has been no sentence that says, or there can be no sentence that says to keep him there for more than the law says, right?
Why
So
is he
what we
still there?
actually have.
Why is he still
Say
there?
that again?
Why is he still
Why
there?
is he still there? That is a very good question. Why is he still there?
What is
You know,
what has this man done that has caused people to the government not to let him go?
it's pride, Ingram, pride. This is what happens in Grenada. The people in authority do not take their job seriously. They do not honor the laws.
Who is responsible for keeping him in there?
At this point in time, I would say the Attorney General, acting Attorney General,
Okay.
Minister of National Security, right? Because I have personally written Mr. Keith Claudius Mitchell about that asylum seeker, letting them know that this is what is happening in his country, in our country.
What's his response been?
He has not responded. This is what happens.
To be fair, I will say one thing about the Prime Minister. Mm-hmm. To his credit, I remember being in his office, sitting down and talking with him back in 2013. And I said, I looked at him, I went to him, I said, you see this here? A stack about this high of paperwork. He says, you see this here? I didn't got through this yet. There's stuff that is on my desk that has not been moved off my desk yet because the people in office haven't got the job done yet. And I'm still waiting 2 weeks long for stuff that should be on my desk 2 weeks ago. That's the Prime Minister saying that.
So Ingram, let me say something.
If that,
let me say something.
I'm still waiting for stuff to get done. And I've watched.
Ingram, let me say something.
I watch some of these people. I watch how some of these people move. And I can't believe there were people in government incompetent. Now, look. I'm not sticking up for the Prime Minister here, but I'm just seeing things that I'd seen on the island when I was there. But some of the people there, you're meant to be working for the big man in the office, and you're on Facebook doing some kind of nonsense. I'm like, what? What are you doing? I mean, I didn't say anything. I've seen this happening.
So Ingram, but my internet is in a bit of trouble again.
Okay.
Based on what you're saying, based on what you're saying, what I would respond, my response would be that the Prime Minister has not only come into office in 2018. He has been there for far too long. The Prime Minister understands the dedication that it would take, right, to serve the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. He does understand the dedication. Now, if the Prime Minister realizes that he cannot deal with the workload of the Prime Minister's office, then he should remove himself from being a candidate in the election.
Remember, he's the head of finance. He's the head of security, head of finance, what else are you head of as well? Head of finance.
Ingram, physical planning as well.
Okay.
Now, Ingram, who has given the Prime Minister those roles? Who has given it to him? Right? Right? And also, if the Prime Minister recognizes that that is the situation, then the Prime Minister needs to do what needs to be done to serve the people of Grenada. Now, there is a lawyer.
He needs to put people in place that are better qualified to do the job than him.
Of course. Or the Prime Minister has the authority, just as he had the authority to create a job for his son, right, in the Ministry of Finance, right? He could have organized so those files that you spoke about could be dealt with, so the taxpayers would not be delayed, so that one man would not be stuck in the prison far too long, for even as further than the law has stated. No, the attorney for the gentleman, Ms. Heresia Willis, she has been on local media for far too long, too many times. She has been on local media more than 6 times. The Prime Minister must be aware. This information has been rebutted. Her argument, has been rebutted by Darshan Ramdhani, the Attorney General, right, of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martin.
Maybe we need to have a word. Maybe we need to have a word with Mr. Ramdhani, or maybe we need
I'm going there tomorrow. I'm going to see Mr. Ramdhani tomorrow. But Ingram, Mr. Ramdhani, right, is a legal advisor to the government. I am sure that that legal advisor would have apprised the Prime Minister of the situation. I am sure that there's also a deportation order that Mr. Ramdhani spoke of. And Mr. Ramdhani by himself cannot issue a deportation order. The Minister of National Security must be aware. Now, if he's unable to handle the situations that are happening in the country, then the Prime Minister should just, generously remove himself from the seat so that the people of Grenada could be served and we would not be embarrassed by all of the lackadaisical actions that are happening, by all the unconstitutional and illegal actions that are happening in Grenada, right? That is what I would say, Ingram. The Prime Minister has been very instrumental in getting things done that he wants to get done. And something that I would say, something that I've always said, that the same Prime Minister who has spoken to you about these files, this Prime Minister was driving in the state's vehicle once, and he has alleged that one gentleman who was on the phone almost drove into the Prime Minister's vehicle, right? Whilst Keith Claudius Mitchell was in the vehicle. And a few days later, a couple of days later, the Prime Minister went to Parliament and passed a law. He was very instrumental in passing that law to ensure persons would no longer speak on cell phones in Grenada. Because remember, up until a couple of years ago, the people of Grenada could have driven legally, right, on their cell phones. It was the Prime Minister that was instrumental in doing that. Now, what this tells me is that the Prime Minister acts and cherishes what the Prime Minister wants. How could we have a gentleman, an asylum seeker, in Her Majesty's prison?
Very simple, because the people put him there. When he goes up, there rallies, and and then rallies.
Yeah.
All he has to do is do that. And he's an articulate man. He's a charismatic man. All Keith has to do is do this a couple of times, and everyone in the green, Keith. The guy has to be mesmerized.
Very embarrassing. Very mortifying, I must say. I must say, as a Grenadian citizen, I'm very mortified by that action that he continues to do every election. It looks so ridiculous. We do not speak about the policies and propelling the country.
But wait. Who in opposition can bring about an argument better than... Tell me, who? I'm not like, if Keith decides tomorrow to go and do a talk tomorrow, right? And do a rally and get up on the microphone and do this and talk a bit of sweet talk. Keith, the people will go rally for him because he's charismatic. So
33,000 votes.
So he's charismatic, and if you want to call him manipulative, because he knows how to manipulate the crowd and do what he needs to do, you can't knock the man for that. But the opposition is weak.
Terribly weak. Evidently weak.
If a man can stand up on a stage and do this, and a man can do that on stage and talk a couple of stuff and say and trash a few people and say a few things and make people laugh, go on, Keith, and give a little money every week to the people. Hey, he's the Pied Piper.
Yeah,
you cannot knock that.
Well, you know what keeps me hopeful?
Because you have to have opposition.
Yeah.
And the weakness is the opposition. Who of the current candidates that are around today can stand up to Keith and say, listen, I'm as charismatic as you, or I'm more charismatic than you? And if so, how are you going to go about that? How are you going to take that man out of office? You have to offer something better. Or what are you offering better? What's the vision? What's gonna? Do you understand? When Obama came into power, regardless of what you think of him or what he did afterwards, he brought something that Bush couldn't bring. He brought something people couldn't do. He did something different. Do you understand? He was charismatic.
Yeah.
He was charismatic. And you're going to need somebody, I believe, charismatic in Grenada who's charismatic, who understands the crowds, who understands the people, and can say, you know, Keith, I'll take you from here. And until that person comes along, there's no point saying Keith did this wrong, Keith did that wrong, Keith, because how many people have said that? And there's still man still jumping up the stage doing this, and he's still saying what he's saying, and he's still staying in power. So somewhere along the line, the opposition has been weak, and if the opposition in Grenada are doing that now, still pointing at Keith, they're gonna lose again. They will lose again, because you're dealing with a man who's very charismatic, and he's the Pied Piper, and you've got a lot of people under the spell. And until the opposition can bring something better or stronger to knock them out and inoculate them and make them think something different, you're going to get the same old story again.
Well, what I would say, Ingram, you know, thankfully, the people of Grenada now have the Grenada Empowerment Movement as the opposition.
What's your dance then?
Right? No dance.
No dance. We
have no mascots. This man is like,
bro. You have to dance. You have to whine a bit.
Nah, I would not be a mascot like the Prime Minister to win an election. To reach that age, to reach 70 plus, and be acting like a child, just to win an election is very insulting to just being an adult male, you know. It's shameful, and that's something that I would never do.
You're saying it's shameful. The man is the longest serving Prime Minister in Caribbean history.
But we should also, Ingram, ask ourselves why. We have to ask ourselves why, because remember, besides the electorate who are not voting based on policy and so on, there's also the fact that the supervisor of elections, the last supervisor of elections, Mr. Alex Phillip, he came out and he said that persons voted illegally. 32 persons voted illegally in one polling station, right, in the northeast or the northwest St. George. 32 persons out of 35 names that were submitted. And now, instead of instead of going further to investigate all the other polling stations to ensure that other persons did not vote illegally, it was just left like that. It was just left like that.
Why?
Right? Now, because corruption.
Wait. You said
corruption.
You said corruption. Is corruption manipulation? Personality? I know a lot of people in Grenada that if you say anything bad about Keith, it's like a swear word. They will defend that man till their dying day. That's the sort of support that Keith has got. And that's going from the older generation, and that's pushed through for them. The mothers, the fathers, the grandmothers, gone down to the children. There's a whole string band of generations that are supporting Keith. That's not a lie. That's what it is. So you need somebody out there who's going to be able to bring a fresh sort of approach. And attacking Keith is not the way to do it.
I mean, we already have that person. I mean, I'm right here. You know, I have not been trying to deceive the people of Grenada. I have not made empty promises. I have shown the people of Grenada that even without the authority of government, that changes could be made in this country. Right? That better lives and the livelihood of people. So based on who I am, the man that I am, what this man is doing, acting like a child on the stage, making a fool of himself, basically, lying to the people, deceiving the people,
Right.
even using insulting words,
But
right,
wait.
to people.
Yes. 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 You're talking about the opposition. Your opposition. But he is in power. That's where you want to be, or desire to be, or need to be. So you
Ingram, Ingram, I am in power right now. I don't need to be in government to be in power. And that's what people failing to realize. I don't need to be in government to be in power. The amount of changes that I have made to Grenada. Now, for instance, in 2012 or 2013, I believe, when I just came back from Trinidad, now I got the Royal Grenada Police Force to bring in someone from Miami, right? Teach to train police officers to use that speed gun, because I refused to pay a speeding ticket from a speed gun that has not been tested and calibrated and verified by the Grenada Bureau of Standards. Right now, when I was ticketed, I called ASP David, who was the person in charge of the traffic department at that time, and informed him that they cannot charge me contrary to the law. Whatever is done in Grenada has to be in conformity with the law. But besides that, now I can tell you the amount of things that I have done in Grenada. I've made many changes in Grenada. Right? I do not have to be in government. I do not want to be where that man is. That man is not in a proper place. Right? He's not in a proper place. I would love to maintain my internet. That internet is terrible, Ingram. Right. I would rather maintain my integrity and my honesty. Right. Imagine this is a person, Ingram, that makes national statements or statements about national affairs in political rallies to push his political agenda. Now imagine we have the Minister of Physical Planning, the Minister of G and the Prime Minister and whatever, informing the people of Grenada, right, about oil and gas in a political rally, right? This man is informing the people of Grenada about oil and gas in a political rally, right? The people that are paying his salary and for his luxury and for his home and his fancy meals and his travel expenses are not NNP supporters. It is the people of Grenada. And this man went into his political rally and said that we have found oil, we have struck oil, and we have many more exciting ones.
Listen. He can do, pardon my French, what the hell he wants, because in his mind, he's the longest reigning prime minister in the Caribbean, 1, and 2. He's got away with doing it for so long that he will keep on doing it. Listen, I'm not saying changes. Get away with it. And because the opposition is so weak, as I said before, because the opposition is so weak, he can get the damn hell what he wants to do. But when there's fire on his back, he may have to come up with a different tune.
Ingram.
Okay, go ahead.
Slavery was once legal, right? At that point in time, no one thought that a black man would be free. At that point in time, no one thought to actually travel at the front of a bus. Look at Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was just a simple black lady, right? And she chose to sit where she needed to sit as a human being. So this corruption that we're facing, this is nothing new, but it will not last forever, be it by time or by the ballot.
Yes,
eventually it will end. Eventually it will end.
I've heard it said in Grenada, this will not last. I'll tell you something. It may not last in terms of Keith, but that sort of his what would they call it? Protege. Who are his proteges? And his leadership always has a protege, someone they can say, I believe he's the future for Grenada. If Keith gets up on one of them rallies and he does this up at the rally and he says, I believe Oliver Joseph is the future of Grenada. Get behind him. He's the future of Grenada. And people look at him. This is what the Master Keith is saying. And they go look to him. I'm telling you.
Oh my God! Listen,
you're laughing.
We just have to be hopeful. We have to be hopeful.
So wait.
We have to be hopeful.
You have to have a plan.
Yeah.
You have to have a plan. It's all right saying, "Well, we
do.
What is the plan? What is the plan?
We do. Ingram, the plan is we have to educate the people, empower the people, show the people that they can be better. Now, remember earlier, I was telling you that there are people who want better, but they do not know how to make better an achievement. We have a lot of those people here in Grenada.
Yes.
So I believe that if we can show them the way, we can guide them, right? Good night, Mushida. If we can guide the people and show them that we can accomplish that betterment is not impossible, then things will be better. We have a lot of people who go to the ballots and vote for vote in fear of victimization, right? The last election, there have been people who spoke about the situation. They believe that the ballot was transparent, right? No, we know about all the strategies that have been used. What I would say to the people of Grenada is, do not allow these people to come to your communities every 4 years and buy you a shot of rum, right? Because you are much better than a shot of rum or a beer or someone standing.
What is the alternative? Okay, I'm not going to have a shot of rum. What is it? You're talking about educating the people. What does that look like? I have to ask the question.
What's the question? What is the internet breaking up? Eh? Breaking up.
Okay, so what is the? So you say, what does that look like? So you're going to educate the people. What does that look like? And what does the end result look like? So you educate the people.
Let me tell you how this thing would work, Ingram.
Okay.
Now, if I was to educate at least one person, right? That one person could do 2 people. Those 2 people could do 3 people. And it keeps going like that. Right? We keep spreading it. Right? We keep spreading it. But the alternative right now to answer your question, the alternative would be them, of course. Right? It would be them. You look at the
right. You are the alternative. What are you offering apart from some rum? What are you offering?
I will not offer rum. I would not offer.
What? Okay. What is the alternative to that? Tell me.
I would not listen. Instead of going to the communities.
Damn the internet.
So listen. So
what is this? Is a good conversation. I'm enjoying it.
The internet here is terrible. The primary instead of offering rum, I am going to.
Well.
Say that again.
The Prime Minister is head of flow as well. It's head of.
After looking at the situation with George Grant, his radio station and so on, I would not eliminate that from capabilities of the government. But the thing is, Ingram, people need to be educated as to what the laws are and their rights and so on. So I would be offering that. I would be offering that. I would be teaching people the laws. I would hand out pamphlets with the laws so that people can see how powerful they are, right? They are much better than a bottle. I would not stoop to that level, right? At unprincipled level, right? To go and buy alcohol. right? And Ingram,
You hear
and
that?
Ingram, let me,
Then who
Ingram,
asking for a friend?
listen, this situation there, right? We have 110,000 people in Grenada. You tell me the only person that could run this country is Keith Mitchell out of 110,000 people? He was sent by God? Really? 110,000 people? Now, if people open their eyes, they would not be asking such a question. If not Keith, who? We have 110,000 people in Grenada. It might not be me, but there's someone.
Hey,
There must be someone,
listen.
right?
You get into power, I'm your second in command. You hear me? You're laughing. I'm your second in command.
Ingram, you see,
together better.
no, listen. You see, the thing is, I believe in democracy, and the people would have to vote us in, right? They would have to vote us in, and then we will be there. Things will work out, right? Things will work out.
No, but hold on. If you get into power, you've got to slow your speech down, remember? I told you. I've been giving you classes. Slow the speech down. Good evening, Grenadians. Nice and slow. Slow it down. You're speaking too quickly. I mean, you've got to speak slower. Let's try.
The internet just broke up again. Okay. Yeah, what was the comment? Sorry?
I said you have to speak slower.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know,
much slower, you know? You know.
Yeah. No, I believe that's just the Grenadian accent that confuses me.
You gotta be more like Keith. Fellow Grenadians, my brothers and sisters.
No. He does this thing about thing. I would always remain diplomatic in speech. And you know, that's just who I am.
I know that.
This is something that just something that I learned. Right? This is just something that I learned.
You know what? I want to see the color of your blood. I know how passionate you are for Grenada. I know how much you love Grenadians. I know how much you want to see change in Grenada. But us having these conversations and people are listening, they want to hear what do you offer differently?
I mean, what I would say, Ingram, what I would say is what people need to do is just follow and look at what I'm doing. Actions speak louder than words. Don't take my words for it. Look at what is happening. Look at what I'm doing. Follow me. And if you believe that this is what needs to be done, this is the type of person that you need, then so be it. Right? But don't take my words for it.
Of course. You know what was beautiful when I came to Grenada and I was traveling through to go and see my grandmother had passed in Trinidad, was stopped off for that day to see you and see the work you were doing in Grenada. Just that one day, I thought, gosh, if I could just have a month of watching you do what you're doing, the lives you're changing, it's incredible on the ground.
Yeah. And I mean, with your help, of course, we can move mountains, right? With your help, which I do appreciate. God is good, Ingram. God is good.
Absolutely. Just to close, I want people to know that that they have had some good news. Those Grenadians that were in London are safely back in Grenada now. Just to finish up, I want to say that.
Yeah, they have been, and I want to thank you, Ingram, for assisting me with assisting those persons getting repatriated. I have also assisted persons from Trinidad who needed to be repatriated. As I said, we don't have to be in government to have power. We don't have to wait until we get into government to better the life of someone or create an opportunity for someone, right? There will be limitations, of course, because we do have an unethical, undemocratic bunch of persons in authority who apparently will stop at nothing to ensure that corruption prevails, right? We would have those obstacles, but we can overcome. We can beat those challenges and make things happen with unity, of course.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Yes,
Yes,
we
we
can.
can. Yes,
Yes,
we
we
can.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
As always, Earl, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Always a pleasure. And I love talking to you about Grenada and the development and the vision of Grenada. And it's always a pleasure. It's an honor to have you on the show. And it's an honor to spend time in your company. Any final words?
I appreciate that. As always, an honor to sit here with you, Ingram. The things that we are accomplishing, Ingram, it has bettered the way of life in Grenada. For instance, we just recently made a post, a simple post on Facebook about the treatment that has been meted out to the people, the taxpayers of Grenada, who are seeking the assistance of our public servants in the form of the Royal Grenada Police Force, where a hose, a garden hose, was placed outside of the South St. George police station for the Grenadian citizens, for human beings to come and just stand outside and wash their hands like if they're slaves coming from the field, right? And because of that, that was removed because of a simple Facebook post that
Wow.
was made by us, right? So we have
Wow.
made many changes, many changes. Sometimes the things that I would like to do based on the constraints of just being a simple and single human being, the restriction, as I said, it's there, but it's just a matter of time before we can accomplish much more. I have worked so hard in Gram for this country that no, many times I don't even have to send an email. I just have to simply make a Facebook post and we would see the changes that are happening in Grenada. And this is not me boasting. This is me telling the people of Grenada
Have
that
faith.
I am not special. I am not special. We can all make these things happen. Right? Once we stand for something, right? I am not an authority. I'm a simple taxpayer. I'm a simple taxpayer as everyone else, right? And everyone can do exactly what it is I'm doing. Imagine if we have much more people looking out for each other here in Grenada,
Yes.
right? And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much, right? It does not take much. All right. So, Ingram, once again, thank you. It has been a pleasure. See you next week, Monday, my brother.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Anybody have any problems, any grievances? I know we have a lot of persons in Grenada who are being victimized and going through terrible situations at the hands of public servants. Reach out to us and let us make things happen.
Inbox us on the Facebook page. The Facebook page, Grenada
Matters.
Absolutely. Invite your friends. Grenada Matters. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you once again, Earl. I think that's a wrap. See you next Monday. Take care.
Next Monday.